Monday to Sunday.
It's hard to explain, okay? But
All day. All year round.
it's so mysterious.
This is who we are.
This is who we are. WAVR.
WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar and 1 p.m. in Maiduguri. Good afternoon and welcome to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on WADR.org. Here are the top stories. ECOWAS says over 1,900 deaths have been recorded in 2025 following terrorist attacks.
Today, it poses an existential threat to the whole of West Africa. It is in this context that ECOWAS ministers of defense and finance met recently to agree on the activation of the standby force.
Social media rumor sparks public reaction in Mali over terrorists' alleged encirclement of Bamako.
I learned about it on social media. To say that the terrorists have gotten so close to Bamako that they have encircled it is propaganda.
As the world celebrates Children's Day, Togo faces challenges in protecting children's rights. And in Liberia, mosque eviction in Monrovia sparks outrage, exposes deep grievances within Muslim community. Please stay tuned for details of the stories and more.
Here is Imo Edit with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast. ECOWAS says since the beginning of 2025, more than 1,900 people have been killed by terrorists in West Africa. According to data reported by the Economic Community of West African States, these fatalities resulted from 450 terrorist attacks across the sub-region. ECOWAS Commission President Dr. Omar Luture announced these figures during a discussion at the United Nations Security Council regarding the enhancement of regional cooperation in combating terrorism in West Africa and the Sahel. Christopher Teacher completes the story.
In his address to the United Nations Security Council, Dr. Omar Luture warned that terrorism has extended beyond the Sahel and the Lake Chad Basin, posing a threat to all of West Africa. He expressed concern that extremist groups are also engaging in economic warfare by restricting access to fuel and paralyzing trade in the sub-region. However, the ECOWAS Commission President stated that the regional bloc is accelerating the deployment of its standby force, which currently numbers 1,650 personnel and is expected to increase to 5,000 with support from the region and its partners.
Whereas terrorism was initially confined to the Sahel and the Lake Chad Basin regions, today it poses an existential threat to the whole of West Africa. It is in this context that ECOWAS ministers of defense and finance met recently to agree on the activation of the standby force. The plan is to start with a brigade of 1,650 strong personnel and increase it to 5,000 gradually.
Established in 1975, ECOWAS was initially composed of 15 countries in West Africa. In January 2025, Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger officially announced their withdrawal from ECOWAS, accusing the organization of being manipulated by foreign powers. Nevertheless, the regional organization maintains that its doors remain open for these three countries to potentially rejoin. In addition to the three Central Sahelian states, other West African nations including Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria and Togo are also experiencing terrorist attacks.
Christopher Teacher filed a report staying with security matters, but in Nigeria, concerns are growing across the country after a deadly attack on a church in Iruku, a rural community in Kwara State, northwest of the country. At least 3 worshippers were killed and 35 others were abducted when armed men stormed a Thanksgiving service that was being streamed live on Tuesday. This incident is part of a disturbing increase in violent attacks nationwide, leading to renewed public anger and questions regarding the government's response. Our Abuja correspondent Usman Umar reports.
A viral 5-minute 12-second video captured during the live stream of the Thanksgiving service shows the harrowing moment. Gunmen burst into the Iruku church, shooting sporadically as worshippers screamed and scampered for safety. Among the most disturbing scenes is an elderly woman leaning on a walking stick, struggling to escape as several of the assailants, clearly visible in the footage, rifled through handbags, kicked down doors, and carted away valuables while firing shots. Kwara State Governor Abdurrahman Abdulrazak visited the community, condemning the attack and promising support for the victims and their families. However, many Nigerians say such assurances ring hollow, especially as the incident adds to a growing list of recent violent episodes. Just days earlier, gunmen invaded a government girls' secondary school in Kebbi State, killing a vice principal and abducting 25 schoolgirls. Also in Borno State, a brigadier general in the Nigerian army was captured and assassinated by terrorists, an incident that has further heightened national anxiety. The surge in attacks is unfolding against the backdrop of diplomatic tensions between Nigeria and the United States following President Donald Trump's allegation of an ongoing genocide against Christians in Nigeria and his warning of possible U.S. intervention if the killings persist. Public anger is rising from marketplaces to online platforms as Nigerians are denouncing what they describe as government inertia in the face of relentless insecurity.
I won't even say we have a president at this point, because how can a president be in a country, you are alive, you are not incapacitated, and you cannot do anything?
All this thing is beyond the president. If he cannot take action, if he cannot work on himself, then he should resign.
Back in Iruku, families continue to search for answers and for their abducted loved ones as the country grapples with yet another reminder of its deepening security crisis. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
We head now to Mali, where information circulating on social media about a potential encirclement of Bamako by the terrorist group JNIM is generating reactions among the population. In the capital city, Bamako, residents are currently balancing between a sense of calm and heightened vigilance. Since early September 2025, the country has been facing difficulties with fuel supply, resulting in long queues at service stations. Abdullah Hassan has the rest of the story.
On this day in Bamako, life continues as usual, with residents going about their daily activities. Many people do not believe reports about the terrorist group JNIM moving closer to Bamako. Their support for the Malian army remains strong. A motor taxi driver refuses to be driven by fear.
I learned about it on social media to say that the terrorists have gotten so close to Bamako that they have encircled it is propaganda and it doesn't hold water. You must not give in to fear. People must be very vigilant in the face of this and report anyone deemed suspicious.
Other residents of Bamako, the Malian capital, who we encountered on a main road in the city, speak about the disinformation spread by social media which aims to sow panic among the population.
This is a way of showing panic among the population. False information is destructive because it creates psychosis. I saw a video on social media in which a French journalist talks about this. I wonder if it is really about Bamako, because I don't see anything that scares me.
Meanwhile, this citizen at a service station urges people to focus on finding a solution to the fuel crisis that has been affecting the country for the past 2 months.
All I see here in Bamako is the fuel crisis, which these terrorists are believed to be responsible for by preventing tankers from supplying the country. I think it's a strategy to lead us to revolt.
While the terrorist threat remains a concern, authorities in Mali continue to call on the population for support and not to succumb to fear.
That was a report from WDL's Bamako correspondent Aliu Jam and voiced by Abdullah Hassan.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Togolese president of the Council of Ministers, Farinasingbe, has begun bilateral talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin following the latter's working visit to Moscow. Upon his arrival in Moscow on Wednesday, Natsingbe and Putin held a brief conversation in the Green Hall of the Grand Kremlin Palace. This was followed by a meeting with a limited circle of delegates. Francis Boniface tells us more.
Discussions between the two leaders centered around enhancing Russian-Togolese cooperation in politics, the economy, trade, and anti-terrorism, as well as addressing pressing regional issues. In anticipation of the talks, Putin emphasized the significance of threats posed by terrorism on the African continent. He noted that the entire West Africa region is grappling with these challenges. Regarding trade, Putin highlighted that bilateral trade has been increasing, despite Russia not having embassies in Togo. He stated that trade and economic relations between the two countries are developing at a satisfactory rate. Although the trade volumes remain modest, he is optimistic about the overall trend. Additionally, the Russian president announced that Russia will establish its embassy in Togo in 2026. Putin expressed hope that once embassies are open in Moscow and Lomé and intergovernmental commissions commence their activities, the two countries will not only maintain their progress in combating terrorism, but will also enhance their collaboration further.
Francis Boniface reporting there. Still on matters relating to Togo, the challenges of protecting vulnerable children are more pressing than ever in the country. Today, November 20, marks International Children's Rights Day, and human rights organizations in Togo are voicing concerns about the well-being of children. Celebrated annually on November 20, International Children's Rights Day encourages governments and organizations to commit to caring for children, ensuring their safety and providing appropriate educational and psychosocial support. Sankli Janko reports.
Every child deserves to grow up free from violence and abandonment. However, the reality in Togo shows that many children are vulnerable and exposed to various risks. Among the organizations working to address this situation is the SPEC Support Center for Children in Distress. This group assists vulnerable children and provides them with a safe environment to rebuild their lives. Another facility, known as the Home for Children in Difficulty, serves as a transit space for these young people. In line with these efforts, the Togolese Minister for Child Protection, Martin Moni Sankareja, launched a census and update of the reception facilities to ensure they comply with established standards. Togo reaffirms its commitment at both national and international levels to the protection of all vulnerable children and to providing them with a safe environment in which to grow up.
That was a report from Silvia Vadrago in Lomé, voiced by Sankle Janko. In the meantime, International Children's Day is a moment each year when the world pauses to reflect on the promises made to every child, the right to safety, education, health, dignity, and a voice in shaping their future. Across countries and communities, children are not just being spoken for, they are standing up and speaking out. Here are some students from Ghana expressing their ambitions on this day.
As I am today, I am healed whilst children on the way are not feeling well. So when I grow up, I'll be a doctor, cure the people who aren't feeling well.
The parents must be made aware that every child is entitled to be educated, no matter the sex, status, ethnicity. So your particular child, if it's not educated, it's not a good thing. To help and develop the nation, to help other people feel part and not stigmatized. I also want to build wheelchairs for the disabled people, like children, and prosthetic leg for one-legged people.
And for Grace Kwa, principal of Beacon Spring School, she's calling for protection from violence, access to quality schooling, or action on climate change.
For a day to be even set aside to celebrate it, it shows that the children are very important. How we are bringing them up now is going to impact them. We want to bring up children who are bold, who are confident, who can fit in anywhere they find themselves, academically, socially, mentally, any way possible. So the next thing is that if you are the one imparting the knowledge, so make sure that you also help the child. That you are not just the medium through which the child is receiving the knowledge, but make yourself available to the children.
Grace Kwa is the principal of Beacon Spring School in Ghana. You're listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM Dakar, and online at wadr.org. Here is a reminder of our top stories. ECOWAS says over 1,900 deaths have been recorded in 2025 following terrorist attacks. Social media rumor sparks public reaction in Mali over terrorists' alleged encirclement of Bamako. As world celebrates Children's Day, Togo faces challenges in protecting children's rights. And still ahead in the news, in Liberia, mosque eviction in Monrovia sparks outrage, exposes deep grievances within Muslim community. We don't have the press review, a guest interview, and sport news. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
We're streaming live at wadr.org, and we urge you to join the live streaming on YouTube and Facebook. In the Gambia, civil society organizations and citizens are raising concerns regarding the government's proposed 2026 executive budget. They cautioned that ongoing discrepancies between budgeted plans and actual spending may jeopardize both economic stability and public trust. From Banjul, WDR's correspondent Sang Donald Mendy reports.
The coalition of civil societies, including Gambia Participates, a leading advocate for budget transparency, says the proposed budget highlights a steady rise in expenditures on travels, provincial presidential tours, and government vehicle cost. Marnyang is the founder and executive director of Gambia Participates.
Objective was for the president, his government, to meet with the people, understand the effects of the government's policies on them. Number two, to also look at the conditions in which these people are living in. However, it has turned to be a political activity.
Meanwhile, the organization's analysis shows that over the past several years, less than 20% of development allocations have been executed annually.
The government overspent the 2024 Meet the People's budget from 30 million that was approved by the National Assembly to about $63 million. That's about 115% more than what was approved. It was a wastage in which they gather people, clap, dance, and get into political fights, attack their oppositions, do all whatnot, which I believe does not deserve taxpayers' money.
In addition to the CSO calls, several Gambian citizens also expressed concern about the country's proposed budget.
Imagine $52 million was allocated for this year's tour, and then as history keep on repeating itself, they're gonna spend more than $70 million at the end of the day.
The president should stick to the approved budget. The president should not be seen to spend more than what is approved by the National Assembly or the government. That is, in fact, against the Constitution and other laws of this country.
To address these issues, the coalition of civil society recommends scaling back non-essential expenditures, which accounts for more than $2.1 billion, around 3.6% of the proposed budget. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sangdana Mendy, reporting from Banjul.
Crossing over to Liberia, the eviction of a mosque in the commercial hub of the Red Light settlement and the reported beating of an imam are highlighting significant grievances within the Muslim community. Last week, tensions escalated when court officers attempted to enforce an order concerning a land dispute involving the mosque in the Red Light area. Eyewitness accounts indicate that some individuals resisted the court officers, which prompted the deployment of armed police to execute the eviction. WDR's Monrovia correspondent Abraham Parker reports.
In a statement, the Supreme Council for Imams and Muslim Affairs of the Republic of Liberia condemns the assault on Imam Abu Bakr Kamara. The council urges Liberian authorities to take immediate effect and interfere legal action against those responsible for the attack and to ensure that the imam receives appropriate medical care. Chairman Hassan Ekima, speaking on behalf of the council, confirmed that one arrest has been made in connection with the assault on the imam, but calls for further arrests.
While we affirm our categorical rejection of such acts, we call upon the relevant Liberian authorities to take immediate and just legal measure against those responsible.
However, Ali Klai, chief imam of Liberia, adds another layer of complexity to the situation. The chief imam expresses concern over Imam Kamara's presence at the mosque during the evasion exercise, suggesting that he had disregarded advice not to resist the court order.
despite the advice of the national chief imam, while the imam that is supposed to be law-abiding in keeping with the teachings of the Quran and the Sunnah, that is supposed to obey his own leader first and foremost, why did he go there despite the fact that we advised them not to go there to resist? So we want to know. It's just a question. We want to find out what he was doing there, because we can't just condemn blindly.
In light of this situation, some Muslims in the country are calling for broader dialogue to address the underlying grievances within the Muslim community. Many also urge the government to ensure the protection of the rights of all citizens, regardless of their religious affiliation or ethnic background. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
This is the newspaper review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the newspaper review.
The newspaper review.
We head now to Accra, Ghana, as we join Nadi Tete for the newspaper review.
Greetings. Welcome to the newspaper review segment. We'll start off with the Daily Graphic newspaper front page. VAT reforms take effect January. That's according to the GRE boss. I'll take you to the Ghanaian Times front page. 38 property owners in Sunyani face legal action. Also here, block IFFs plug tax leakages to boost revenue generation. That's according to ISE. Also here, 2026 year of infrastructure development, President Mahama declares. I'll take you to the Chronicle newspaper. Front page of the Chronicle, Mahama to buy 2 presidential jets and 4 choppers at a mind-blowing $1.1 billion. That's according to Samuel Abujinapo. Also here, extraditing Sedina Tamaklo is out of my control, according to Attorney General. A GIPC board chair upon Fosuwu's USA investors to Ghana. The Daily Guide newspaper front page, 2 presidential jets and copters to cost 13.1 billion Ghana cedis. That's according to Abujinapo. Also here, 3 illegal miners die in Heath Goldfields concession, and ECOWAS courts to hear Tokonu's removal case. Finally, we are working to extradite ex-Maslock boss, according to the Attorney General. The Daily Post newspaper, ECOWAS court rejects Tokonu's bid to block her removal. Also here, at the time you left office, the city had suffered a catastrophic collapse. That's according to Felix Kwachifusu in response to the minority. We'll wrap up with the Overseer newspaper front page. We are cleaning up the NPP's mess. The finance minister tells Parliament and government set to recapitalize ADB. That should be it for the newspaper review segment. Is back to you in the studio.
Many thanks, Nadi there.
Politics, analyses on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Well, in this segment, we take you back to the growing Nigeria's insecurity crisis, which has shifted from a series of isolated incidents to a nationwide emergency touching villages, schools, farms, and homes. From banditry and kidnapping to communal clashes and insurgency, millions of Nigerians are living with fear as part of their daily reality. Experts and activists like Deborah Yusufu have been on the front lines of advocacy and community engagement and hope that with the polarized statement of the U.S. President Donald Trump on the state of insecurity in Nigeria, authorities would have acted by providing concrete solution to the ongoing crisis.
The problem still remains that people are being killed, and that is what should take now concern for the Nigerian government. But rather than do that, they went off on trying to defend something that is clear and crystal and for everyone to see. The recent attention from the U.S. is going to do 2 things. It's not just going to do one thing, and that is, the way the attacks have increased, have been intensified, almost like certain, because you know that they act on impunity. There's this impunity for attached that, so they probably saw that as a affront to them, and that has also motivated all the recent attacks that we have seen. That has also confirmed, for those that are still in doubt, that has also confirmed, that there is indeed a genocide. But I want to say that even before Trump came out, there were attacks that were happening. I have intel. I operate within these communities that you see that you're getting reports almost on a weekly basis about an attack there, an attack here. But what this attention that the United States has done for us, thankfully, is to intensify pressure on the Nigerian government and on the Nigerian military.
There are a lot of activists like yourself who, aside canvassing for good governance, but are people speaking out enough for this insecurity to be handled? We've seen a change of military command and order and all of that. What else needs to be done?
I would say that compared to the last 3 years, this is the most people have been speaking out about it. And this is thanks to the United States lending its voice to these issues, to these insecurity issues. So I would say that we still need for people to speak out more, but this is the most we have seen in terms of skill, interest, and investment. Even the Nigerian people and across have been speaking about it. And yes, so we need to sustain that and escalate it. Now, with regards to what should the government do, first of all, it should be a collaborative effort, which that is what I have seen in report in this past week from the United States, saying that they've laid out a plan to, collaborate with the Nigerian military. But the truth is that this is not the first time we are having collaborative efforts with foreign governments in this country, albeit not in this present administration. And the reports in the past have come out to say, I think from France and even US, they came out to say that, well, this problem is largely political. These people are heavily sponsored. The senator in the US, Ted Cruz, came out to say that, there are names of people that he will be releasing in the coming weeks. And I wonder why those names have not been released. So no matter how much, foreign governments, the US, and interest and even, motives to resolve this issue, no matter how much they do, if the government at home is not interested in bringing this to an end, then it will continue. So there needs to be a lot of pressure from the US that surpasses military intervention, or place sanctions on people that are culpable, that are either funding and aiding and abetting these terrorists in the past, that we've seen, evidences.
Deborah Yusuf is a social activist. Well, in sport news, history was made in Rabat as Morocco swept the 2025 CAF Player of the Year award. Shizlen Shabak became the first Moroccan woman to win the women's prize, while Ashraf Hakimi claimed his first men's title after a standout season with PSG. Both delivered emotional acceptance speeches, first Shabak, then Hakimi.
I am delighted and happy. I thank the Almighty God for this success. I would like to thank my teammates, without whom I would have never been able to perform this good. And I will conclude by saying that all young people, especially young girls who would like to play football, I'll tell them, believe in yourself and persevere and putting in the right efforts. You are going to end up on huge stages like this, and you're going to make your entire family and the whole world proud. It's really an honor for me to be here today. It's a real pride for me to win this prestigious trophy in the football world, in the African football world, precisely. This trophy is not just for me, it's for all the Africans, the strong men and women that have dreams in Africa, and those that dream of becoming footballers.
Hakimi finished ahead of Mohamed Salah and Victor Osimhen. On the night, Yassine Bono won Men's Goalkeeper of the Year, and Nigeria's Chamaka Nadozie secured a third straight Women's Goalkeeper Award. Morocco's under-20s were named Men's National Team of the Year, and Nigeria's Super Falcons took the Women's honor again. Babusta earned Men's Coach of the Year for leading Cape Verde to their first World Cup, while the Women's Coach Award will be announced after the CAF's Women's Champions League. And that's it on this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Falilu Soul and Samala Kamara for the technical support. Let's keep the conversation coming on all of our social media platforms, TikTok, X, Instagram, at WDR English, and Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio English service. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is a repeat broadcast of our flagship environment program, Enviroscope. I am Imo Edet. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County.
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Niba County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Baf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone in Nigeria, and Love 104.5 FM, Abuja.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and